Welcome to Fly Nubian Money. I'm your host for today, Jade, and we're here weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern Time at Fly Nubian Queen TV's YouTube channel. So we're joined by Dr. Lene Javette and Dr. Alicia Watkins, and we're having a conversation. Has Will Smith survived the slap? So I know you all know that the Bad Boys franchise came out with the fourth film, and it's called Bad Boys Ride or Die. It's extremely successful, and we were all wondering whether Will Smith survived that infamous moment when he walked on stage and slapped up Chris Rock. So we're going to explore this conversation, and we're going to talk about Will's journey before the incident and then after the incident. A lot of people were saying that he was canceled. I think he got in trouble with the academy and everything like that. So we are going to talk about it today. We're joined by some wonderful experts. I'm really excited about it. And so let's dig into it. Dr. Lene Javette is a business coach, and Dr. Alicia Watkins is a therapist. So we're going to have a conversation around business, right? Whether this incident impacted Will in a positive or negative way. I would love to get Dr. Lene Javette's feedback on that. And Dr. Alicia, we know that Will has had quite a journey dealing with mental health. And I know he wrote a book. And so I want to get your perspective on this. Audience, we want to hear from you as well. The first thing I want to know is where y'all at. Let us know in the chat what city and states are you watching from. And then we want to share your comments in the chat as well. So let's kick this off. Okay. Do you think Will Smith survived the Oscar slap? Let's start with Dr. Alicia, who's laughing right now. We're going to go with you first.
I'm so biased in this conversation because I am such a Will Smith fan, and I have loved Will Smith more than I've loved Chris Rock. I respect Chris Rock's work. I think that some of his work, in terms of his comedy, to me, I think he's been really mean to Black women in a lot of his comedy. It's one thing to kind of like be funny, but I've always felt that Chris Rock kind of made fun of Black women in his comedy to the point where I just felt like it didn't feel healthy in a sense. So I've never, just going into before the slap, going into it, I came into it with Will Smith being like a really good guy in my eye and Chris Rock not so much. So I'm totally biased on this. And as a therapist, I understand my biases, right? So in terms of whether Will Smith has survived the slap, I think absolutely. I mean, did Jada Pinkett survive the slap? If anything, she got a lot of criticism because of the Red Table Talk, her memoir that she put out where she revealed some really personal things about her marriage. She really, I don't know if she had permission from Will to talk about some of these things in her marriage, but she revealed quite a bit. And on the end of it all, we ended 2023 with Will Smith on top. And then we've kind of forgotten about the slap and her memoir book and all of the chaos. We're back to Will Smith making fantastic movies, doing his thing, being his wonderful self. And so he survived, as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you. What do you think, Dr. Lene?
I think Will was going to already survive. I think he's a human like the rest of us. I think he'd made a major mistake like we all do. I think that you forgive people like we forgive everybody else who does things that are crazy. I don't think I love Will Smith. I love Chris Rock. I love them both. I don't know if I'm in agreement or disagreement with Dr. Alicia with good versus bad as much as two grown Black men having an altercation in front of the world, whether somebody was good or somebody was bad. I think that even when it happened, I felt sorry for both parties. I felt sorry for Chris Rock getting slapped in the face, right? On national TV. I felt bad for Will Smith losing it. And at the end of the day, all I saw was two Black men having this very public altercation. And I have a very sensitive spot for Black men, right? And then especially being cast in a negative light, operating in a space that might be considered stereotypical. But did he survive it? Absolutely. He was going to survive it. When it happened, he was going to survive it. Like there's no, he's a $1 billion man. He's a $20 million movie payout person. He's on the same caliber as Tom Cruise. They weren't going to let him fall. They had to give him a slap on the wrist. He had to take an L, but we all knew he was coming back. I think that if we, as human beings, but no, Black people, let's just talk about Black people. As Black people, if we actually stood up, supported, loved on our people, celebrity wise, the same way we love on our cousins and our friends that do raggedy stuff that we don't hold to no standard, but we turn around and hold celebrities and people who make millions of dollars at a different standard as if they're not human or they're supposed to be better than the rest of us. It's the same thing. Support those that support you, love those that love you, and have the back of those that you want to support. I wasn't going to say those that support you because these celebrities don't support us, but of those that you want to. I don't think that the world or the culture, not ours, but the culture should be able to cancel you based on your actions and behaviors.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Dr. Lene and Dr. Alicia. The chat is there, they're here, and folks are tuning in. Make sure you come in, hit the like button, and share. Make sure you subscribe to flynubianmoney.com and also text the word Queens to 87948. That's Queens with an S, Queens, to the number 87948. If you're just joining us, we got started and we're talking about whether Will Smith has survived the infamous Oscar slap when he walked on stage and he slapped Chris Rock. We want to hear from you all. So if you believe that Will Smith is back in action in Hollywood and he survived that embarrassing moment, put a yes in the chat. If you don't think so, you think this is going to haunt him and he's going to be ostracized for the rest of his life and demonized, put it on the chat. We just want to take a poll with that. My perspective on the Oscar slap was like, listen, and right before we came in, we went live, I did see the video clip from Chris Rock's stand-up comedy when he was saying that he was raised properly and he wouldn't do that. He was raised not to fight in front of white people. Well, the way I was raised is that you don't show out in front of white people either. And so I had more of a problem with Chris Rock standing on stage and trying to humiliate Jada Pinkett Smith, make her the butt of his joke, another black woman, a black man's wife. And it's like, yeah, if you step out of line, like sometimes you never know how people are going to react to that. And I was okay with him actually getting slapped because it wasn't okay when Will slapped you, but it was okay for you to make humiliating jokes about your sister. That was not okay with me. I am not advocating for violence or really condoning violence, but I understand how violent situations happen, especially when there's lots of testosterone and egos involved or hurt feelings. Like anybody, could react, male or female, in that particular manner. But people were all bent out of shape about what Will did. And in my opinion, it was like, yeah, but what triggered it? What triggered it? I wanted to ask you, Dr. Alicia, about your perspective on folks' reactions to triggers. Like, do we give Will grace? I know Dr. Lene was talking about we as Black people, we should give our people grace, but we shouldn't hold celebrities to the same standard. When a person is triggered, what is that process like? And how do we know, or, do we not necessarily excuse the behavior? Like, how do we interact with this when someone's triggered by something?
Yeah, well, all of us have some triggers. We have things that happen to us and we react to it in a way where it's a very strong emotion, where we make for 100 people, it could just be like, oh, it's just a joke. But for that one person, if it hits a spot, that's where you sort of overreact. Because I think getting up and slapping, honestly, that's an overreaction. He could have handled it in so many different ways. But he had this King Richard experience. I think he was like really into this King Richard moment in his life where he seemed to have been this wonderful dad protector, like King Richard, like he portrayed in this film, beautifully acted film of King Richard. And you could see how he got into it. So he could potentially be triggered based on clearly we now know there were some complications and some problems in their marriage that all of us know about now. So he could be reacting to that and triggered with that. What it did was it uncovered to all of us who were scratching our head going, is this a skit? Or is this really happening? Is he really yelling at Chris Rock from the audience, get my wife's name out your mouth? What? What is he reacting to? A little bit of an overreaction. So that is a beautiful display of a trigger. And we go back and now Jada tells her story. And now we so understand why and how he was triggered. Hopefully, this was a moment where the two of them can get together. I don't know what happens in celebrities' life, but in general, when someone's triggered, it's a signal that you need to have conversations. So hypothetically, or let's say that it happens in real life, Will and Jada or any couple going through some issues like this need to sit down and have a conversation with each other about, that was surprising. I didn't know you would be reacting in such a strong way. It was a conversation that two people need to have with each other that hasn't been had. There are some feelings that's been repressed and it pops up. It's like you squish it down and it ekes out in all these different ways as trigger. And so just for all of us to know that when you're triggered, sometimes it can be surprising. And it's a moment where you can sit back and reflect on it, think about, that was a little embarrassing. But what does this signal to me about I need to deal with some things that I am hiding? I need to have some conversations that I haven't had. Clearly they haven't had because they weren't together for a while. So complicated feelings, all sorts of emotions. It comes out in unpredictable ways, hence a trigger. It's a beautiful, teachable moment between two people who are married to each other.
Thank you for that, Dr. Alicia. Dr. Lene, you are a business strategist extraordinaire. And part of me believes that Will Smith is able to redeem himself because he is extremely valuable to Hollywood. In your opinion, if this same exact scenario played out with folks who didn't have that level of wealth or fame or celebrity, how do you think that could affect one's career to be triggered to the point where, you lash out violently or even verbally? What is your thoughts on that as a business strategist?
Unfortunately, we would hold that person highly accountable instead of, I like what John Jay said in the comments. I was actually getting ready to talk about it when I realized I was on mute, but it says one bad act doesn't override 30 years of the good works and deeds Will Smith has done for the Black community. Well, I would say that Will Smith has done. I would probably put a period there. But anyways, too often we do kind of what Dr. Alicia was saying, which is not let somebody have a trigger or a breakthrough. So even if you're in business or if you're just a human being that's living life and you've done all these great things and you have all these, even if you don't have accolades, let's just say you've done all these great things and you've been even killed throughout your career, and then something happens that triggers you, that causes you to act out of character, it should not abandon everything that you have done before that because you had something that triggered you. We don't know what people are going through. We don't know what people are going through in their life. We don't know what happened to that person in the car before they got there that caused them to break. We do know that this is not their normal character. We do know that this is not how they normally act. So we can't, or we shouldn't, I should say, crucify someone for having one bad act. Now, if there is a trend, if there's this repeat offense, if this is something that somebody is showing us on a continuous basis, absolutely hold them accountable to their acts and behaviors on a consistent basis. But someone, the straw breaking the camel's back and somebody flipping out, losing control in a single instant and moment cries out, okay, something is going on. This person might need help. There's something that they haven't dealt with. Something has happened. This is a trigger. And so should it be addressed? Oh, well, yeah, absolutely. Should there be consequences? Yes. But do we cancel them? Do we take everything away from them that they've experienced before? I don't think that that's right. I don't think that that's fair. I think an apology, a sincere apology, Help, what happened and why, how do I move forward, how do I accountability, and how do I make sure that this doesn't happen again. I think that all of those things can be applied, whether it's in the entertainment world, in a relationship, in business. What caused this break? Why did I have this reaction? What am I not dealing with? What am I not addressing? And then how do I fix it so that it doesn't happen again?
Thank you for that, Dr. Lene. Did you want to add on, Dr. Alicia, to any of those thoughts or
Yeah,
points?
I agree with that. I mean, he was the talk of the Oscars. Everybody walked away talking about that slap. So I think in the business sense, you want to be the one person everybody's talking about, whether it's positive or negative. At least he was memorable. And I think, wait, I remember doing a podcast, and that was like one of the highest rated Oscars. Because I'm certain I was on the phone, like, are you watching this? We had the Oscars on in the background, and we were kind of halfway paying attention. And then when the slap happened, we were like, whoa, let's all sit down and watch. I was calling Boyce on the phone. We were calling people. Boyce was out of town at the time. We were just like, what is happening here? Like, it got exciting. It was like the Oscars was a little, it's very stiff.
Very.
It's very, and it was the one Oscars where I think a Black person like did the arrangement or the producing of it. Not let Black people in, and then all of a sudden, here we go. They fighting each other, and I think the hypocrisy of it all. I think the hypocrisy of it all was that, okay, if Chris Rock is not supposed to fight in front of white people. Isn't that what he did in the Netflix special? Wasn't he really fighting? He had his comeback line in front of white people, and he's not supposed to do that. If he wasn't supposed to fight in front of white people, then he wouldn't have said a derogatory joke about somebody's wife who has a legitimate condition that she's talked about. She has made posts about how awful it was that she wasn't able to grow hair in certain spots. Like, she's mentioned that. And for him to poke fun, yeah, I know it's comedy, but like, there's certain things I don't think that we can joke about. I mean, so he could have made the decision. He could have put his foot down and said, I'm not going to tell that joke. They are my friends, which they were. They thought that they were friends with him. Like, I'm not going to put down another Black person because that's what you want me to do in this joke. Like, along the way were decisions. And along the way, anybody could have said, maybe I shouldn't be yelling at Chris Rock across the stage of these white people's award show. I shouldn't even be doing this in front of these people. So I just think, oh my God. Yeah, ain't no love lost between these two. And I'm certain they'll never make up. They'll just, hopefully, they'll just cease the fire and just let it go. I enjoy the fact that Chris Rock has been able to capitalize off of this. I saw the Netflix special. It was funny. He had some material to talk about, and Netflix gave him money for it, and we were the viewers watching it. Will Smith, he has not skipped a beat. He's gone on his vacations, look like he's in the middle of Antarctica, jumping off of airplanes, doing his thing. His personality shines through. He did not let go of himself. He came back. He did a reset. He came back to his original personality that we all love. He's the squeaky clean Will Smith in a lot of our minds. Bad Boys, what was it, 4? We're on 4 now. Blockbuster, blockbuster of the summer. Everyone is interested. They're coming out. They want to know what he's doing next. He's on top.
Thank you for that. If you're just tuning in, we're having a conversation right here at Fly Nubian Money. We're talking about whether Will Smith has survived the infamous Oscar slap. And we're talking about this because he has seen a tremendous amount of success recently with Martin Lawrence on the new Bad Boys 4 movie. So we're having this conversation because, folks were saying that Chris Rock was a victim, Will Smith was going to be canceled, but we see that he continues to be where the money resides. So if you're just tuning in, I want you to make sure you text the word Queens to the number 87948. That's 87948. That way you'll be notified when we have really intense and cool and very insightful conversations over here at Fly Nubian Money. So go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe and share the broadcast, and definitely let us know what you think. Let us know in the chat, yes or no, has Will Smith survived the slap? Now, speaking of the chat, Dr. Lene and Dr. Alicia, I see a comment here by someone named Norman who says, poor Will. He simped out for a woman who wasn't worth it. Let's build upon this idea. I want to get you all's perspectives on this. And I want to hear from you first, Dr. Lene. Poor Will. He simped out for a woman who wasn't worth it. This is similar, reminiscent. This reminds me, it's reminiscent of a lot of anti-Jada sentiment that I saw. This was a conflict between two men, and somehow she became responsible and the villain in the situation. Any thoughts, Dr. Lene?
I don't even know how to take that comment. A man standing up for his wife, in my opinion, can never be a simp, whether you're right or wrong, because I'm not saying he was right or wrong, but it sounds like he should not have stood up for his wife. So I don't think that Will was a simp for a woman who wasn't worth it. I think that we, as humans, as people, are looking at somebody else's relationship and situation without having the facts, without being in their bedroom, without knowing the rules of engagement that they have for themselves and their relationship. We don't know any of those things. That's between two people. So we're making comments, suggestions, ideas on something we do not know anything about. However, all that being said, a man that stands up for his wife cannot ever be a simp, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Will Smith standing up for Jada made him look even more fantastic. Like, you know, honestly, as we're having this conversation, I'm putting my thoughts together. I don't think there's a secret group of people in Hollywood canceling people. I really think on some level, you can't cancel greatness. You can't cancel electric personality, people who gravitate toward you. You can't cancel somebody's beautiful personality. And to make comparisons, not that Jada has a terrible personality, but when she speaks, the way she carries herself, I mean, she's an awesome woman and very successful, but she doesn't have that, you know what I mean? She doesn't have that sort of presence where you want to hear more from her. You want to, do another Red Table Talk. Like, all of us aren't upset because Red Table Talk is not around anymore. Like, it's almost like people were campaigning for her to shut down Red Table Talk because, first of all, it was TMI. It just wasn't there. It didn't have that electric spark that most people want when they have a host, when they have personality. So you can't cancel greatness. And I think Jada she's a great actress. She's very, very talented. But in terms of her personality, I don't think she's as upbeat and cheerful and as likable. She doesn't come across as very likable on the screen as Will Smith does. That's my opinion on that.
I might agree with you on that. Their personalities are very different.
Yeah.
He's very quirky. Is that the word? Quir? He's very quirky, like really, French princess, right?
You just love him, right?
He's very Baltimore-ish. And so when you see the two come together, but it goes back to, we don't know what these two people have agreed to for themselves in their life, in their marriage, and what's okay and what's acceptable and what's not. There's a clip that there was a clip going around that they do like some high five and they're like, bad marriage for life. And if that's their thing, like if that's their thing, if they cool with seeing other people and staying together, I think they said they're life partners. Like, it does not matter what happens between the two of us and in our individuals' lives, we will be together. We have each other's back. We'll never get divorced. We don't get to have a say so. No. We're on the outside. We don't get to have a say so. If they want to have a bad marriage for life, that's their business. If social media has made it okay for regular people to give input on other people's lives. and determine if it's good or bad. We
Yeah.
don't even put that much energy and effort into our own lives. Look, we don't sweep around our own front door because we're so busy sweeping and looking at what the neighbors is doing. We don't even put that kind of energy into the family member who's
Yeah.
close to you, who you can reach and say, "Hey, sis, are you having a problem in your marriage?" Or, "Hey, brother, do you want to come over and talk to me? How can I help you?" We're so busy worried about what's happening with celebrities that we don't even tend to our own family with the same tenacity, objectivity, and advice.
That is so true because
Yeah.
that is I agree with that because he doesn't let anybody's opinions, and you can call him a simp or whatever it is, or you can talk about him so bad. He's not gonna let it sway from what how he sees his marriage and how he sees his family, his whole family. He is going to support everybody in his family. He don't care what nobody says. And he still comes out on top. I mean, that's beautiful. That's like their agreement or their arrangement. Who knows what goes on in Hollywood? But let that be an example for all of us that don't be swayed by other people's opinion about your personal life. Like, you have that conversation. There's personal and then there's private, and you let that connection in private be there, and it's like a vault, unpenetrable by other people's outside opinion who don't have all the facts. Like, those two know everything. I'm sure there's a lot more going on there, and I've heard rumors about stuff, but we ain't gonna gossip about people. But yeah, I mean, if they like it, I love it. How about that?
Absolutely. Well, you're tuned in to Fly Nubian Money. We're here on weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. If this is your first time tuning in, make sure you definitely subscribe to our channel. Make sure you text the word Queens to the number 87948. That way you'll be notified when we have special offers, when we go live with topics such as this one, and some really, really great, we have some really, really great women on our network. And we definitely want to share those perspectives with you. So just keep in touch with us. We're also on Spotify. So go over to Spotify and go to Fly Nubian Queen and subscribe to our channel. We're really excited about it. Definitely check us out. You know, you be in your car, walking, or in the gym, you can listen to it on Spotify. It's really cool. So stay in touch with us, and also visit our website, flynubianmoney.com. Now, the part about that comment that I read, because I'm kind of stuck on this, Dr. Alicia, you might want to coach me, counsel me, or give me some therapy right quick. The part that comment that triggered me was the part that she's not worthy, right? Unworthy, right? Will simped for a woman who was not worthy. And interestingly, she titled her book Worthy. So whether you or anybody or me believes that she's worthy or not, she believes that she is, and she gets to. That's her journey. But also, I saw another comment that stated that she was a wife and she cheated on her husband. I think RI put a comment up. A lot of people don't like Jada because she admitted to cheating on Will. So they
Mhm.
may, so that may be the origin of that comment. I wanted to get you all's thoughts on this, Dr. Alicia, as a therapist, a relationship therapist. Can you start us off with this one?
Let me tell you, not only did she cheat on him, but she cheated on him with her son's friend. I mean, I think that, and then did not, you're supposed to be embarrassed by that, right? You're supposed to be so ashamed and embarrassed that you'd want to deal with that privately, like I think all of us wanted her to do. Instead, she took that very sensitive topic that was clearly an issue with Will Smith and decided to do a video on it at the red table to sit and talk about how she slept with another man and called it an entanglement, which to me didn't feel like she was really owning up to the entire experience. The fact that he was much younger than her, it just it on the at the end of that video, I could not believe that somebody would be brazen enough to put their business out there and to think that that was a showing an example. Yes, is a liar and envious of Will Smith. Yeah, we can easily draw that conclusion. So I really question Jada and other folks who kind of stick their chest out like, yes, that's what I did. and not feel ashamed. There was no shame coming from her. There was no, I'm really sorry about what the effect this had on you. Like there was just no empathy for the experience of a man who was clearly visibly reacting to what was happening. All of us as viewers could see it, but it seemed like she was oblivious of it and thought, oh, it's a good idea. Let's do a red table talk on how I was sleeping with not just another man, but our child's friend. And I mean, that is a lack of judgment and a lack of self-awareness on her part to think that that was okay to do.
Thank you. And a quick follow-up question for you, Dr. Alicia. Would you describe that red table talk as an extension or example of emotional abuse? And if
Yeah.
yes, no, and either way, how do you define emotional abuse?
Yeah, and the irony of it is that she brought up on that red table talk really wonderful lessons. She brought experts on there to talk about healthy relationships and unhealthy relationships. It was really a great platform where she introduced mental health concepts to the public during the pandemic when we really needed these concepts. But in terms of applying them to herself, the lack of self-awareness there didn't really seem to come across the way it needed to. And it if she wanted to do a video or do a teachable lesson about infidelity and stepping outside of the framework in which when couples get together, you need to have a conversation about what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. And if you step outside of that, then there has to be some repair work. She could have done so much talking about repair instead of focusing a lot on her infidelity and what she was going through. Like, it was so much about her, which was okay, but we needed to have pivot in that conversation to talk about what Will was experiencing. And we should have seen some evidence of empathy for her, or even feeling sorry for him or for what she did. I think, hopefully she looked enough at the comments or had enough therapy where there's a new sense of self-awareness where she's like, I don't think that went over very well. But it just seemed like she just didn't really care what other people think. I'm worthy and I don't care what other people think. I read the book, Jada. So I mean, Jade, I read the book too. I know you read the book as well, but
Yes.
it was all about me, myself, and I. And that is a character flaw.
Thank you for that. Now, you gave us a very comprehensive therapeutic analysis, mental health analysis of this. Dr. Lene, let's talk about business and branding, because you are an expert in branding and personal branding. We can juxtapose Will Smith's brand with Jada's brand. In my opinion, she is also very successful in her own right, according to whatever her brand is, which is, the Red Table Talk. She did that did really well. I think she lost a lot of supporters after this slap debacle happened, but her book came out and it did really, really well. We see Will Smith's brand as, an actor, and he's in all of these great movies. He's considered an A-list actor. Can you talk to us a bit about the business between like this married couple, and their brands to me are so different and so distinct? Oh, you're muted.
Sorry, I was over here taking notes. I do think that their brands are different. I think that Jada had an initial brand so she had the Different World brand, and then she went into acting, Low Down Dirty Shame, and did these various almost comedic roles, if you will. Jason's Lyric, which wasn't a comedy, but she had her own brand, her own kind of identity based on the roles that she played. And then Will, who has been a powerhouse action movies all since he's been in the game, comedic things of that nature. And then it seems as if they became a couple brand. So Will and Jada. Now when we talk about them, we say Will and Jada, or we say Will Smith, right? So some of, I think, Jada's issues is that she got sucked into Will's brand and kind of lost her own brand and identity, because now it's Will and Jada. While Will's doing various movies multiple movies along their career. Jada kind of just does a little bit here, sprinkles in there. And so if you listen to some of the things that she's talked about as to how they got to where they are, she lost herself. She lost who she was. She started going along to get along, started kind of doing what he was saying to do. And even from the very beginning, if I remember correctly, she was crying on her wedding day. Like her mom was like, you need to do this, you need to get married. And she was like, this is not even really what I want, but she did it. And a lot of women find themselves doing that, going along to get along, doing what the man says, doing what the husband says. And the more you do that, you chip away at yourself and you find yourself downtrodden and not living up to who you are, who you're supposed to be. And you can lose your identity. And if we're keeping it on business, your brand, right? You can lose your brand because you get sucked up into this other brand, into this other person, which can play with worth, right? And so to have to go back and write a book called Worthy and have some of these conversations where we're talking about from the perspective of worth, nobody has the worthy wand, not your husband, not the public, not social media, not your pay. No one can tell you your worth, if you're worthy, if you're not worthy. That's a personal thing that somebody has to feel. And so for her to go through everything that she's been through in the public with red table talks, with her husband, with her hair loss, and to still come out and feel worthy is a beautiful thing. It's a blessing. It's not something to joke about or to play with. Cheating doesn't make you not worthy. Having a bad marriage doesn't make you not worthy. Um, Sleeping with your son's friend, it doesn't make you not worthy. It doesn't make you not worthy of love. It doesn't make you not worthy of support. It doesn't, especially if you and this person, this man have said that you guys are life partners and you're going to move forward together as a unit. It doesn't make you not worthy. I think from a business perspective or a brand perspective, it's identifying that there's three different brands here. There's Jada's brand as an individual, there's Will Smith's brand as an individual, and then there's who they are as a couple. But too often, only two of those brands and or businesses get respect, and that's Will and Jada.
Wow, thank you. Dr. Alicia, would you like to, any ideas you want to build on before I go?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, your behaviors are your behaviors, and you are, worthy no matter what. But if you had self-worth, you don't sleep with your son's child. I mean, your son's friend, your child's friend. Like, and maybe that's what the book, I didn't finish the book, to be honest with you. Maybe that's where she was getting to, you know what I mean? Maybe that was a lesson she needed to learn in and of herself, thinking about Tupac and all these things that's coming out. I think that, those behaviors that she did was an indicator of a lack of self-worth, and that writing that book was a way for her to get back to who she is and maybe have a healthier relationship with her husband and with her family. And to make some of this right. So yeah, it's a signal when you do unhealthy behaviors, it's a signal that maybe you don't feel a sense of self-worth. And that book was her journey toward having better mental health, because I know she talked about how she struggled with depression. I love that because everybody can relate to that, struggling with depression and struggling with mental health issues and overcoming some of these things and feeling bad about it. And when you feel guilty about it, you try to make it right. What can I do to make it right? Okay, maybe there's something wrong with me. That's shame. Maybe I need to change some things about how I feel about myself because I'm doing these behaviors that's not helping. So I like that she can be an example for all of us on that with her memoir. So I encourage people to get the memoir, and to learn about her journey, because it's very personal, that she talks about personal experiences with ayahuasca and all the plant medicine and all the other stuff she talks about how she is trying to make things right with herself. So I love that she ended the year 2023 with, with this memoir. And we haven't seen anything from her lately. Maybe she's just doing her thing. I know she had a production company. I had a girlfriend that worked for Jada Pinkett, and she said she enjoyed working with her. She said Jada was great to work for. She, she was professional. She She was very generous with the people she worked with. And so she has a reputation of doing really wonderful things in the Black community, as long as, alongside Will Smith. So we have to give her props too.
So I want to talk about, there's this comment from Be Serious, and it says, so no level of harm, dishonesty, abuse makes Jada unworthy. We don't get to carry the worthy wand at all. We don't get to walk around judging people at all. If somebody was to go and look in your closet and see the things that you have done in your life, have you always been honest? Have you always used your words with integrity? Have you never cheated on a significant other or somebody that you were dating? Have you always told the truth? Like, if we were to go and look at other people's closets and other people's background, nobody is walking around here sin free. We all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. But yet we sit in, we become internet gangsters and start judging everybody else's acts based on what we think we know. We're not in these people's houses. We give celebrities and people who have money more, we expect them to act with more integrity and behave better than other people. We don't know anything about what's happening in these people's lives. Is it right or wrong? We can only say if it's right or wrong based on our moral character. We don't know if it's right or wrong for them. But then we say, well, she wasn't worthy, or she. Now, to what Dr. Alicia says, we can interpret and see things based on her actions. Her actions are saying that she didn't feel worthy. Her actions are this, that, and other. But that's for her to decide. That's not for us to say. We can't say that how somebody's actions and what they did or did not do. She's not worthy of his love. Says who? Who gets to say who's worthy of whose love and who is not? I could say that I know I have done some crazy things in my life where I may not have been worthy of love, but thank the good Lord that somebody saw fit to love me through that, to help me through it. We're too quick to be like, you did something wrong or bad and you're not worthy of it. And yet John over here is taking that chick back on a regular basis. Some of y'all is taking your man back on a regular basis, and he acting the same way that Jada's acting. It's just that it's a man doing it. But because it's a woman that's doing it, oh, hell be damned. Women ain't supposed to act like that, but it's okay when men do it and treat women that way. Get out of here.
Thank you so much. If you're just tuning in, you're right here at Fly Nubian Money. We're flynubianmoney.com, and we have panels on weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And we're joined today by Dr. Lene Javette and Dr. Alicia Watkins. Dr. Lene Javette is a business coach, and Dr. Alicia Watkins is a therapist. And we are dropping jewels, and we're having this conversation about Will Smith. He has experienced lots of success throughout his career. When the infamous Oscar slap happened last year, when he went on stage and slapped Chris Rock, folks were saying that he was canceled, that he was violent. It went into a lot of stereotypes about, violent men or violent Black men in particular, toxic masculinity, et cetera, et cetera. And folks were saying that he was canceled, his career was going to be over because this incident happened in front of the world. However, Bad Boys 4 just came out, and he and Martin Lawrence have yet another successful film. And we're also talking about the learnings from that infamous slap, whether you all believe that his career has survived and that Will Smith has survived. You can let us know by putting a yes or a no in the chat. So we're having a really intelligent conversation about this. And if you enjoy these sorts of intelligent conversations by Black women, definitely text the word Queens to the number 87948. That's 87948, and you will be alerted when we do go live and have these conversations.
Hey, Jay.
Yes.
Can we talk about redemption for a second? Because the conversation is, can Will survive the slap?
Mm-hmm.
Jada survived the cheating. Can I survive being a stripper? Can that person over there survive having done crack in their past? Can that pastor survive X, Y, and Z? Can you in the chat survive your past? Is there such thing as redemption? Can you do some wrong and come back from it, or are you forever judged and unworthy because of an act that you have committed? What are your thoughts, Jade?
Yeah, there is redemption. People can be redeemed, and there's a lot of work that goes into self forgiveness, releasing the shame and releasing the guilt. And I do believe that we're the hardest on ourselves. So I'll speak for myself. I've been really hard on myself about some things that, have occurred in my life that I'm not really proud of, or decisions that I've made that I now take ownership of and responsibility for that I'm not proud of. And unfortunately, we do have a situation where with technology and social media, folks are being as hard on us as we are being on ourselves. And that creates a lot of inner turmoil, and self forgiveness is key. That's what we have to start there. And so, whatever her journey is, whatever mistakes a person has done, it's between them and God. That is their journey. That is their that is their life. I think that these conversations are important because there are things that we can look at to extrapolate from, to grow, and to really mirror our own lives to say, hey, what's the lesson in this for me? What's the lesson in this for me? But I do believe, like, to answer your question further, Dr. Lene, if we hold on to an idea, a false idea, that redemption is impossible, that creates so much chaos. It creates so many crises for people because folks are like, oh my gosh, I cannot escape my past. It's over, and that is what I believe. And so it's dangerous to feel that people cannot be redeemed. And Dr. Alicia, as a therapist and expert in mental health, I would love to hear your perspective on that.
Yeah, and we always wonder why people walk around afraid to take a risk. This is why, because you make one mistake and then you become a mistake. And I think the issue is what you do when you make a mistake. Do you feel embarrassed? Like, embarrassment is a wonderful feeling because it keeps society in checks and balances. Like, psychopaths don't feel embarrassed by some of the things that they do, right? So embarrassment is a good thing, right? Feeling guilty, that's a great emotion. It's gonna move you to want to make things right. I feel very guilty about what I did. Let me make things right. It's the repair. It's what you do after you make that mistake that brings everybody back. It resets everybody back. I am acknowledging what you've done. I did something, it had this impact on you. I didn't intend for that to happen. I feel guilty about it. I'm going to make the steps to make it right. That's part of the apology process. Saying you're sorry is just one step out of many with making things right. And then you have a great conversation and things are cool and copacetic afterwards. The issue is when people make a mistake or when people do something wrong, they don't try to make it right. They see that another person is hurt by their actions and then they blame them for being hurt. It's what you do when you know that you've done something wrong. It's the character flaws that you're not able to look at. It's when people aren't able to look at their behavior and what they've done and how it's impacted other people and not have ownership of that, and to start pointing fingers at everybody. That's where I think we get, it gets into really harming people, and it's starting to show. People throw the word narcissism out there. I like to say you just can't be empathetic to other people. And why is that? You can't acknowledge that unintentionally. You can say, yeah, I did that to you and I'm sorry for it, and then still think that you are worthy, right, Lene? You can still think I'm a worthy individual, but I see the worth in you. So when people don't see worth in another sentient being and another human being, that tells you that they don't really care about themselves in an unconscious sense. Yes.
Thank you for that. And
Uh-huh.
I felt so uncomfortable reading certain parts of the book. And after seeing what Will went through with the infamous Oscar slap, I could only imagine him attempting to heal from that situation, all of the backlash from it, and then hearing about his wife writing a book about, his penis size or him being inadequate sexually, and how I was just wondering, like, wow, that is really, 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 really damaging, and it makes it that much harder to heal. That makes it that much harder to heal. And I'm just glad to see that the movie went well and he is not canceled, because yes, people can be redeemed and they get to be redeemed. So on the screen it says that Will Smith has a net worth of $350 million. I don't know what Chris Rock's net value or net worth is, but that is a lot of money. I know that the film Bad Boys 4 also did really, really well. And so he continues to be successful. Here we are. Bad Boys 1 came out in 1995, and Bad Boys 4 just made over $100 million. Absolutely wonderful. They had a production budget of $100 million, but they made that over, I think they made what up to this point was like 250 million. But on opening weekend, they made over $100 million. So that is a tremendous amount of money and success, and it shows that the people are riding for him. They didn't cancel him. They enjoy his art. They enjoy his art. Did you want to say anything about the financial aspect, Dr. Lene, pardon me, in terms of, that amount of money and success? Is it an indicator that the folks rock with you and support you, or could that be an indicator of something else?
No, I think definitely people rock with them and support them. $350 million net worth is nothing to sneeze at, but also making back. I was looking at the numbers. Bad Boy 3, which was the one that they did right before this one, after 10, 15, 20 years between 2 and 3. 2 was done in 2003 and 3 was done in 2020. So in a 17-year break, they 3x the investment. Look at that. The budget was 90 million. They did 424 worldwide. That's crazy. That's crazy. Look at that. People do rock with Will. I think you can, well, I'm not going to say that. I was going to say, I think people can see themselves in Will, and I'm not going to say that because the comments tell us that folks is like, absolutely not. I wouldn't go for it. I wouldn't do it. Couldn't be me. So I don't think that people see themselves in Will. I think people see what I'm referring to about seeing themselves as Will is the redemption quality. Like, okay, I've been doing good all this time. I messed up, but don't count me out. Right. I'm still worthy of love and support. That's what I mean when I make that statement. Just that piece right there, because we all have done something crazy. We all have done something that we may or may not regret. For a really long time, I have regretted who I was and what I did. But now I'm good. Now I feel worthy and love. I had to go through some different things. I had to have some therapy. I had to be open with my story, not hide it. And I think that that's how people rock with you, when you take accountability, when you say my bad, when you're not trying to hide it, when you're not trying to blame it on somebody else. And he's done all of those things. He's taken accountability. He's done the work. And so I think it's easy to rock with him and to show support and show up for him. I know we're getting ready to go. I have to address this comment. It's kind of like a side note to Norman. He said, I have met intelligent strippers back in the days when I used to indulge, trust me, and intelligent gangsters too. I would like to just add to that. You would be surprised to know how many doctors and lawyers strip their way through college. That's all I will say to you. There would be young ladies back there doing homework, like literally doing homework because they got class in the morning. Doctors, lawyers, all different kinds of professionals today who are putting themselves through school. So I definitely know that there are intelligent people in all walks of lives that get caught up in different situations. And sometimes it gets us further. My bachelor's degree, my MBA, my PhD, and now I'm a full-time entrepreneur. And I go back and look at my hustle, my work ethic, and how I show up, and I still get to apply some of that today. And so although it was something, a moment in my life that I used to say I regretted and I was super ashamed by it, now I look at how it's pushed me to become who I am today. And so I no longer regret it. I no longer look at it as a bad thing. It's just a part of my life. It's a part of my testimony. So with redemption comes truth, honesty, authenticity, growth, if we can own it. And that's what I'll say about that.
Thank you. Dr. Alicia, would you like to add on?
Wait, Dr. Lene, are you telling us something today? Are you saying something?
What?
Are you self-disclosing something today or what?
Like what?
It sounded like I heard you were saying you were a stripper.
Back in the day, yeah, I've talked about it many times. Yeah.
Oh, I've never heard you talk
Really?
about it.
Yes, from 19 to 22, for 3 years. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I've talked about it all. Maybe we've never been on the same platform. Yeah, I've talked about it.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's why I was like, wait, are you telling us you went to a stripper?
I didn't used to. I used to keep it very close to the vest. I used to keep it real close to me because I didn't want to be judged by it. Like I didn't want people to. I used to think people won't take me seriously. They're not going to listen to me or who I am today. Like so, I didn't used to talk about it. But I have found the more that I talk about it, the more that I disclose, and it actually works better and it makes me feel more free. It's how I got back to feeling worthy. Like before, I used to feel like that made me who I was. And it took me down a couple of notches. But once I started to embrace it and talk about it, there's so many people that in me sharing my story that I have helped that it makes me share it more. A lot of people have done something in their past that only they know or that they don't share or that they're embarrassed by or that they're judged by that make them feel a kind of way today. They won't start a business, they won't marry, they won't have kids, they won't let somebody love them, they have a fear of rejection. I had a fear of success. I had a fear of success. I thought if I when I become successful, if people find out that I was a stripper, they're not going to believe me. They're not going to take me seriously. And so it made me play small. It made me not be who I truly was. And then I started chasing all these accolades. I gotta be better. I gotta be stronger. I can't let that be me. But I did all that and I still didn't feel worthy. So it wasn't until I started just being real honest and truthful and open. Yeah, this was my life. This is what I've done. And people were like, but you got here in spite of it. Yeah, this is what I did. And people just started coming out and being like, man, I experienced this. When I got out of prison, this, I didn't think I was going to make it. When I did this, that, I was raped, I was it, and it held me back. And in just talking about how I went from here to here, it has helped other people. It has freed me and so now I talk about it all the time. So you may not have heard me talk about it before because
Never.
man, I used to kind of keep it to myself, but I talk about it
I
all.
feel so sheltered right now. I feel really sheltered. I mean, my risky moments, it was like nothing compared to that. But thank you for disclosing that.
Yes,
For the
thank
first time.
you.
It takes courage. So I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Lots of courage. And that was going to lead us to our final question, which is how can people handle public embarrassment or humiliation like Will Smith? How can they handle it and heal from it? What are the tips or words of advice that you would have to offer?
I guess I'll go with that one. Two things I want to say about Will Smith and coming back on top. Look at what he did. He stopped talking about the slap and the Oscar moment, and he got back to being what it took for him to even be nominated for an Oscar. He got back to his fundamental, the acting and the movies. And he has demonstrated that he can knock it out the box, right? He's demonstrated that I can just be who and what I am, which is this wonderful personality, very outgoing. We love how he interacts with his fans. We love how he is just his authentic self. He comes across as very genuine. And even in that moment, when he got so angry that he got up there and slapped Chris Rock, in that moment, he was genuine. He was genuine. He was authentic. Even if it hurts him in the end, we see his transparency and all of us connect to that. And that makes him, as far as I can see, much more likable. And my second comment I want to make is that I have a prediction. I predict that as soon as this ban is lifted, that Will Smith will not only win another Oscar, but he will be hosting the Oscars. That's my prediction. I know that it'll be a while from now, but I really do predict that he will not only be back on top, but he will be the person running the Oscars because he's got the talent, he's got the ability, he's got the electric personality, and the Oscars, viewership of the Oscars had been plummeting. It had been plummeting for many, many years. Will Smith, along with all of us Black folks, we make things more interesting. He will be not only back on top, but he will be hosting the Oscars. That's my prediction. You hear it today, June 18th, 2024. You heard it today. My prediction.
Thank you for that, Dr.
I'm
Alicia.
Dr. Alicia. Am I supposed to tell you how you're supposed to get a hold of me?
Oh, sure, you can do that. Yeah,
I'm Dr. Alicia.
Final thought.
If you want to work with me, you can contact me at my website, Coaching with Dr. Alicia. Click on the button that says individual work. You can click on the button that says couples work. If you need that, you can contact me there. You can follow me on Instagram at Coaching with Dr. Alicia.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Lisa. Dr. Lene, how can people handle public embarrassment or humiliation like Will Smith and bounce back?
I think first is healing. Second, accountability. And third, being upfront and honest. Because public shame and embarrassment, when you hold it to yourself, it eats away at you. It plays with your worth. It plays with how you show up. It plays with how you feel valued. But when you take ownership of it and you heal from it, and once you heal from it, it doesn't matter what other people say. It doesn't matter what other people think. Nobody else can determine your worth. Once you identify your own worth, then you can show up authentically in the thing that you're embarrassed about. It was a situation, it was an event, it's something that happened. This is not going to go over well, but I'm still going to use it. You can have a sex tape and become Kim K. Like, you just got to take ownership of whatever the thing is. It's when we hide it. It's when we run from it. It's when we let it make us small that harms us and it drags out. But if you own it, if you're honest in it and if you're authentic in it, who's to say what you can do? If you look at entrepreneurs, business owners that do some of the work that I do, all we're doing is talking about our story. Like, if you look at Elisa Nichols, all she's doing is talking about how when she was broke, she only had $2 in the bank and she started a business. All somebody is doing is telling you about their resilience. This is the bad thing that happened to me. This is how I healed from it. And through this healing, this is what I did. And this is how I went on to be great. And this is how I went on to do X, Y, and Z. We use the shame, the guilt, the thing that was supposed to break us, and we turn it into something. So healing, accountability, and just being honest about it. And that's it. I'm Dr. Lene Javette, monetization coach, business coach for Black entrepreneurs who want to triple their revenue. And you can find me at I am Dr. Lene Javette.
Thank you so much. And my final thoughts are, I guess my key word, big takeaway is grace. We get to extend grace to ourselves and grace to other people. Shout out to Will Smith. I'm really happy to see his success, and I hope he continues to rise to the top. Those are my final thoughts. I'm Jade Harrell. I'm an educator, and I do coaching for Black entrepreneurs and activists and support them in their activism efforts and giving back in the Black community. You can find me at highblackesteem.com. And I'm really grateful to have been a part of this panel with dope Black women that I absolutely love and admire, Dr. Alicia Watkins and Dr. Lene Javette. Make sure you all tune into our panels right here at Fly Nubian Queen TV.com. Fly Nubian Queen TV's YouTube channel. You can come over there. You can also go to flynubianmoney.com and definitely text the word Queens to the number 87948. That's Queens, Queens. Don't forget the S, to the number 87948, and you'll be notified when we do go live. And we're here weekdays, like I said, at 1 p.m. Eastern time, and we'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Bye.